Biotransport production.
Once there was a baby born to two completely normal people. His name was Michael. Michael grew up like any other kid in the neighborhood. He had friends, two loving parents, and an awesome red bike with flames painted on the side. Then one fateful night, when Michael was 8 years old, the house suddenly burst into flames. The parents were not able to get out in time, and Michael was the only survivor. However, when Michael was found by the firemen, there was not a single burn onto his skin despite his clothes being nearly destroyed. After nobody could make sense of how Michael survived with no injuries, he was placed in an orphanage where he would often be bullied by the other kids. As Michael grew older, his resentment towards those that messed with him grew as well. He disliked all the kids in the orphanage and would consistently get into fights. One day at age 17, Michael's anger really got the better of him, causing his skin ignited into flames. And he caused a fire in the orphanage. However, Michael was completely unharmed by the fire. With his newly found abilities, Michael thought he could finally be powerful enough to get back at everyone that messed with him, and that he would never be messed with again, thus starting his life of arson-related crimes. Michael attempted to carry on a normal life. He got an office job as a biomedical engineer, but his past continued to haunt him. With his knowledge of biotransport phenomena, he learned to control his powers. Michael designed a suit to withstand extreme temperatures and harness heat for his arson endeavors. He created a belt for this suit that contained fire bombs. They would ignite by the fire from his hands, and he could throw them at his target. After creating his master plan, he decided he would keep his office job as a cover-up, but every night he became Michael, the supervillain, and he would go after all those people who had hurt him all those years ago. Michael made some general assumptions in order to understand his own powers. They were as follows. Michael's body is a system which can be modeled by momentum and heat, both of which will be represented by a different gadget or power for the sake of simplicity. Michael still has all normal physiological and metabolic functions in addition to having powers. Michael has a belt containing fire bombs which harness energy contained by his body and from his environment. Michael is unaffected by fire himself, but wears a fire-resistant suit to prevent residual heat transfer. Michael possesses the ability to disappear in a cloud of steam from water which he obtains from the environment. A byproduct of Michael's metabolic processes is fuel production in his bloodstream, which is released when creating fire. The fuel to be released is proportional to the water gained from his environment, so his net change in mass is zero. Macroscopic equations will be utilized rather than microscopic for both of the biotransport principles. Michael used the top equation to model his conservation of momentum. His general assumptions for this equation were that the density of any of Michael's capillary cross-sections is uniform and constant, as is the density of his blood containing fuel. His body transfers momentum to the firebomb. The pressure across each capillary and the pressure across Michael's skin is uniform. Lastly, the cross-sectional area of his capillaries is uniform. Michael then moved on to his specific momentum transfer equation. The assumptions included the following. Since momentum is conserved as stated above, the net rate of momentum accumulated in the system is equal to zero. R is the force at the outlet by the hydrocarbon fuel in the capillaries of Michael's hands, which act as a system wall before momentum is transferred to the firebombs. Momentum is generated by water from the environment entering Michael's body, which will give the term mg. The amount and speed of water moving upwards from the earth or from the atmosphere is significant enough to be considered a normal force. Fluid transport in the bloodstream is the governing cause for momentum transfer. The inlet consists of water through Michael's skin, either derived from the ground or the atmosphere. The outlet consists of liquid hydrocarbons leaving his flame-resistant bloodstream to be exposed to oxygen in the air, causing combustion. Equation 1 was used by Mikael to model the net rate of accumulation of energy in the system. The assumptions made when using equation 2 were that, due to the specially engineered suit that Michael wears, the suit can absorb and store the heat that is being radiated from Michael's body. The metabolic energy is accounted for due to the heat that is being created by Michael's body. Since Michael is igniting into flames, there will not be any moisture on his skin. Therefore, the rate of evaporation can be neglected. The rate of heat loss by respiration can be neglected as well. Due to Michael's body being able to thermoregulate while he does not feel any effects from the heat, the net accumulation of energy in Michael's body will be zero. The rate of enthalpy change can be neglected, assuming that Michael's body and the suit do not gain or lose mass when heat transfer occurs. The specially engineered suit helps Michael by harnessing and absorbing the thermal energy that is being radiated from his body when his body begins to heat up. This can be modeled by equation 3 called Stefan-Boltzmann equation for radiation. The suit that Michael is wearing is in direct contact with his skin. The heat from his skin transfers directly into the suit by the process of conduction. This can be modeled by Newton's law of cooling, which is shown as equation 4 once the heat is in the suit. Almost no heat escapes by going through the suit due to effective insulating layers. This means that there will be zero heat flux through the insulating layers. These layers help regulate Michael's body temperature so that he does not get too hot and explode. This can be modeled by the equation for an insulated surface with zero heat flux and the equation for radiation insulation, which is shown in equation 5. Michael goes on to live out his billion life without ever being caught. His knowledge of biotransport phenomena is too powerful to be defeated.